Well, there's some things that I love in life, and there are some things that I want to avoid, like the plague, and conflict is one of those. I am not one of those that looks to run into conflict. In fact, I would classify myself as pretty conflict averse, but I've had to learn over time. Just leadership requires that some of these things come out over time, but that doesn't mean I've done it great. And so actually, this picture that you see, for those of you watching on video, I actually got this snapshot. Don't worry, any audio listeners, I'll walk through it, but I got this snapshot from a buddy of mine, Rob Shreve, who he's got this book by John Maxwell. He's a leadership guy, and he talks about these leadership principles, and it's sort of a daily read that you can read through. And this was today's read, and I thought it was really interesting and very, very helpful. So I wanted to go through it a little bit with a little commentary around how to lean into conflict. Before I go through the list, one of the things I do want to bring your attention to is I went through a study earlier this year, and one of the things that they mentioned was the priority not only of a leader. It was actually a study about men, and so they were talking specifically about men, but I think we could broad scale this to leaders. Is there are three biases that I call them. One is to move towards, is how I heard them describe this. So we want to have the bias of moving towards a thing. Number two, we want to be responsible for. I want to take responsibility. It may not be my fault, but it is my responsibility, is how they would say that. And the third is this idea of depending on. Now, obviously, we live in a culture and a society, especially if you live in the United States of America, we actually fly a flag of independence. Does that mean that societal independence is wrong? No, not at all. And yet, we are dependent beings. It's actually built into the fabric of who we are. It's woven in to who we are as human beings. And so with that, learning how to depend on others, in fact, like you're doing right now, I'm doing it with this list. I'm trying to lean into this list, move towards this list so that I can move more towards confrontation. Why? Well, there's actually a great statement that was made a long, long time ago. It says this: as you endure divine discipline, remember that God is treating you as his own children. Who ever heard of a child who is never disciplined by its father? So if you're not disciplined from a divine standpoint, as he does all of his children, it means that you're illegitimate or not really his children at all. And so the reality is that discipline can actually show care, concern. It can show legitimacy when we offer to bring discipline in a very thoughtful way. And so with this list, I thought it was super helpful to understand. So let's walk through it. Number one, confront ASAP. That goes back to that leadership bias. Let's move towards. There was a situation actually last week that I had taken notice of, and sort of from a general standpoint, but last week it sort of came to a head. And I just thought, I remember sitting at home thinking, I need to move towards this. And I woke up at 3:45 the next morning and went, I'm going to move towards this today. And I just made a decision to move in, go after it ASAP. Why? It's because the longer you let that fester, you know what's going to do. That's age old in how it operates. Number two, address the wrong action, not the person. We tend to look at a person and say, you're wrong. Me, and what they hear is, I am bad. I am wrong as a total person. Rather than this task, this action, this thing was just not done appropriate to what was being asked to be done. So focus on the thing. There's something interesting about this that happens as well when we do that. Imagine you and another person, you're at conflict. Well, the thing that's at conflict, let's say that it was a missed task. Instead of you looking at the person going, you are bad, you are wrong. Now, we never usually say those things, but we sometimes make derogatory comments. You're such a moron. You are an idiot. Well, what they hear is that's directed at them rather than the fact that they missed this task. Now, them and you can sit side by side and look at the task together. So instead of me looking at the person, we are now looking at this third thing, and I can focus my attention on the wrong action, not the person. Number three, Maxwell talks about, is confronting only what the person can change. Now, we have to be really careful about this because sometimes in my mind, I don't think I can change a thing, and yet my wife will go, you can absolutely change that. And so just because they say they can't change it doesn't mean that it can't change. So I really want to encourage you to look at the mindset and sort of the heart behind the person. But I think that's really what John Maxwell is trying to say. Look at the heart of the person and what can be altered into that. There are some things that may not be able to be altered, core wiring or whatever it might be. But as you look at that, confront what the person can change. And usually those are issues of the heart that can go. Number four, give the person the benefit of the doubt. I do think this is always probably a pretty good discipline to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't know everything. One of the things that we'll tell owners when they come in and they go, I think I'm going to have to let this person go. One of our questions is, if you were to let them go, would they be surprised? Now, usually we don't even care what the answer to that question is. What we want to make the owner do is sort of stop in their tracks for a second and go, I hadn't thought about that. Would they be surprised? Have I given them the benefit of the doubt? And usually what that means is, have I done everything in my power to equip this person, which the answer to that is usually no, by the way. So number 4 will a lot of times set up a mirror that it comes back to ourselves. But have I given this person every opportunity to be able to grow, to be equipped, to develop, to do those things? And a lot of times the answer is no. Number 5, be specific. Now, we have to be careful with this one, because if we're too specific, what we'll do is we'll start to get down into rat holes. And a lot of times when we confront somebody, they'll say something like, hey, will you give me more examples of that? Sometimes, if you're not careful, they can actually leverage those examples to try to either sneak out of the thing or to try to create chaos. I remember there was a story, actually, of Jesus one time sitting down with a woman. She was at a well. There's a whole story behind that. And they were having this conversation. And she was feeling very uncomfortable because he knew some things about her that only a small group of people knew about her. And so with that, they start having this conversation, and then she tries to throw smoke screens. Hey, are we supposed to do this or that or whatever? And he's like, oh, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. And so bring it back to the things that matter, but disregard the things that don't. Number 6, avoid sarcasm. Oh, this is the worst for me. I love sarcasm. I love it way too much. And yet it's not super helpful in most cases. A lot of times I just want to get a laugh out of somebody. And really, a lot of the times I might use sarcasm to either make myself feel better or in some cases to try to lighten the mood. And even if I'm lightening the mood, usually what I'm doing is making the other person feel worse. So why do we avoid sarcasm? Because sarcasm usually is one of those situations where nobody wins in the end. We might have one little laugh, but it's usually at somebody else's expense. So if you look up the word sarcasm, it's actually pretty convicting because it comes from the Greek sarx, which is the word for flesh. And so this idea is we're looking to tear flesh. Sarkaizein is to tear flesh. And essentially the definition has it as this. The dictionary says the sarcasm is the use of irony to mock or to convey contempt. So why do we avoid sarcasm? Because it's usually never for the benefit of the other person. Number 7, avoid words like always and never. Oh, this is so convicting for me because I do this. Ooh, I just about did it there. It's rarely ever always or never. It's usually, hey, in this situation, or my wife has been teaching me a lot lately, it's not that I feel bad, it's that a part of me feels bad. So I'm not defining my whole self. Now, some of you might go, this is all psychobabble and all that stuff. Gang, this really does matter. And being thoughtful with our words. Words are a tool. In fact, it's told to us that the tongue can light stuff on fire if we're not careful. And so the mouth is a tool. The words that come out of it are a tool. So we need to be careful of the words that we use. Number 8, if appropriate, tell the person how you feel about what was done wrong. There's something powerful to be able to go, I see or I feel. Now, that may not be what actually happened, but the reality is that's what I see. So I see outside that it's clear. Now, it might be raining right over there to where what you look at is you think, well, no, it's raining. I can see it's raining right over here. But what I see is it's clear. And so being able to do that doesn't mean that what you see is right. It just means in the moment, it's what you see. So if appropriate, tell the person how you feel about what was done wrong. Number 9, give the person a game plan to fix the problem. Usually this could even be better to work together on the game plan to fix the problem. But before you can work together on it, you got to get buy-in. Hey, do you see that that was an issue, right? So we need to have this back and forth. Finally, number 10 that Maxwell says is affirm him or her as a person and a friend. Always to remind the person that you're having a talk with, hey, I want to let you know that I do appreciate you. And so this miss on this task does not mean anything less about my appreciation for you, the value of who you are as an individual, and the value that you bring to our mission, to the business, to this effort that we're doing together. So I thought this was really helpful little tool to get started. There's some things that we could go back and forth on, obviously, but I want you to get the spirit of this. And if anything else, I heard a pastor say this one time, is really, really good. He said, I don't ever want to be convicted of not moving towards a situation. Even if I'm wrong, I want to be able to be convicted of moving towards a situation. And so I've started to say that more and more to my wife. Hey, I think I'm going to have to lean in on this, but there's a 50-50 shot that I might be wrong. So anyway, use that to help you. Go back through. For those of you who can see this on video, just walk through it and ask yourself, what of these areas that I tend to struggle with? And am I a person who really does move towards and focus on that number 6? Do I use sarcasm to try to tear this person apart? We don't want to do that either. Hey, go check out mybusinessonpurpose.com, and you can see a bunch of other resources, our podcasts, books, everything else there to help to try to equip you. Why? To be liberated from chaos, to make time for the things that matter most.